Hello and welcome to Cromwell Hospital's latest online health talk on endometriosis, Real Stories, Real Strength, A Journey Toward Hope. Please ask your questions using our chat function. Our panel will try and answer as many as possible before the end of the webinar. This webinar is being recorded and you will be sent the recording tomorrow morning. I'd now like to welcome our panel, Mr. Amer Raza, Consultant Gynaecologist, Susan O'Connor, Kerry Walsh, Sahir Ahmed Evans, and Matilda Wellbelove. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hattie, for the introduction, and thank you very much for everyone who is joining us this evening to talk about endometriosis. And thank you for the great panelists who are here today with me to share their journey. Good evening to everyone, and thank you very much. This session today is very special, not because of me, but because of the incredible women you're about to hear from. Each of them has walked a deeply personal journey through endometriosis, facing pain, uncertainty, delays, and challenges that are often difficult to put in the words. But within those journeys, there is also strength, resilience, and hope. Tonight is about giving a voice to those experiences, real stories, real emotions, and real progress, so that anyone listening knows they are not alone. And then there's a way forward, there's a hope for solution for these problems. I will first of all start introducing with great panel members who are here with me, and I can ask Matilda to start with herself. Just tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do and what's your jobs?
Hi, I'm Matilda. I'm an estate agent, and I'm a solo mummy to twin boys who are 2. And I have had endo since I was about 18, so this is my 11th year.
Thank you very much, Matilda. I will go to Susan now. Susan, tell us about yourself and what you're proud of in your life.
Oh, okay. Well, it's lovely to be here. Thank you. And hello to everybody who's joined. So I'm Susan O'Connor and I'm Irish, based in London. And what I'm proud of is that I have moved here to London, maybe I think somewhere between 17 and 19 years ago. I'm not quite sure. I lost a year or 2 here and there. But I've carved out a really great life for myself here. And I've achieved success in work, friendships, and so on. So that's what I'm very proud of, and I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you very much, Susan. And Sahir, I will come to you now. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do?
Hello, everyone. My name's Amer Evans. I'm a women's health advocate, educator, and speaker, and I share my lived experience and my expertise, especially around endometriosis and menopause. I am a mother to 4, a grandmother to 2 gorgeous baby girls, and they are the light of my life. Something I'm proud of is obviously them, my children and my grandchildren. But before my surgery, I was known as the grandmother who did handstands and pull-ups. So I am slowly working my way back to get there, and that's like a big achievement for me as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Kerry, we come to you now. I know you for some time. You're a great artist as well. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, hello, my name is Kerry Walsh. I am an artist from London and I'm also an art teacher. I'm an advocate for endometriosis. I create artwork about endometriosis and spreading awareness. I am a cat mum. I love cats. And that's pretty much it about me. I was diagnosed with endometriosis in 2019, but I've always had issues with my period and I'm very open to talk about the nitty-gritty stuff.
Thank you very much, Kerry. Endometriosis is such a difficult thing to go through for us clinician, that we have no diagnosis, we have no treatment, we have sportive thing, which I'm sure you all know. You have heard me, you have been to your doctors as well, but there is still no solution, proper diagnosis, a proper test by which we can say this is the way you have endometriosis and you don't, unless you go through a triad of tests, operations, and surgeries. That's a sad fact. But let's see where we take us there. So I will just be asking first question, and I will start with Matilda first of all. When did you first realize something wasn't right, and what was your journey like getting a diagnosis?
Sure. So I'd always had really heavy, really heavy periods. And I could never even use pads because they would just, within a couple of hours, wouldn't help anything. And I realized that something was wrong. I'd always had really painful periods, but I had a really severe pain one day. And I took myself to A&E, NHS A&E, and they told me that I was being over dramatic. Was I on my period? Sent me home. I went back a week later. They ended up doing a scan, and they saw a cyst. So they then booked in. I had to wait 6 weeks to see if the cyst would go on its own. It didn't. Had a surgery on the NHS to have the cyst removed. They told me it was just a cyst. They said the words, they didn't see any endometriosis. I then recovered from the surgery, the keyhole surgery, and then I still had the pain, even like 8 weeks, 12 weeks later, the severe pain. I went to see Amer. Amer brought up the pictures of my operation, my surgery, and he said, well, I can see the problem. You have endometriosis. Did they not tell you this? And they didn't. And I had it in black and white in a letter from them saying no endometriosis seen. And then, yeah, I've been with Amer ever since. I had an exploratory a laparoscopy, and yeah, you found endo on both ovaries and on my bowel and on my ureters, the tubes that going to your bladder and your kidneys or whatever. And that was basically the root and the explanation as to why I've been in so much pain.
And then you had lovely twins as well 2 years ago.
Now, yeah, 2 years ago, after, again, Amer never said this, but NHS always told me, you're never going to have kids, never going to happen, there's too much scarring. And I naturally fell pregnant with twins 2 years ago. There'll be 2 this Saturday.
That's great.
Yeah.
I will come to Sahir. Sahir, tell us about, I know you have been through a lot of things as well. Just tell us, all of us who are listening to you, take us through your journey.
So I started to notice symptoms, especially after my youngest child. So she's 18 now, but in between all of my 4 children, I was on contraception. So I didn't really notice anything. I was all right, you know. And after her, I didn't go on any contraception. And I just noticed month by month, year by year, I was just starting to feel awful. I would have heavy periods, chronic pain, migraines. I was exhausted. I was bleeding so heavily. And I obviously started going back and forth to the GP. I was having scans. I was seeing the nurse. And it just went on for years because they just kept telling me, no, this is normal. You're just getting a bit older. Years and years. So I would say about 5-6 years this was going on before I actually finally I collapsed and I was rushed to hospital, needed blood transfusions, and I had 4 bottles of blood. I was given an ablation, and I had the same. I categorically asked, is this endometriosis? And I was told, no, it's not endometriosis. You just have a thickened lining and we'll just do an ablation and you'll be fine. So that was in 2016, 10 years ago. And I wasn't fine, to be honest. It just continued. I think I managed it so well because of my lifestyle practices. You know, I'm into exercise, healthy eating. I just put a lot into myself. And I think that has been the reason that I managed so well through the years. But in 2020, in lockdown, so 4 years later, I started bleeding from my belly button. And locked out, I wasn't getting anywhere. Again, years and years of medical gaslighting, dismissal, being told it was nothing. Finally, 3 years later, I went to the endometriosis clinic. That was the first time I was actually sent and given a referral to the endo clinic in Cardiff, who did an ultrasound scan, a vaginal scan, and said, yes, you have endometriosis. Very quick, very like rushed, you know, when you're not given time for anything. Said, we think you should be put into medical menopause. That's going to help you. Have a biopsy. Biopsy's rushed, excruciating pain for the biopsy. Went home, biopsy got infected. And it's just like one thing after another after another. I was knocked off my feet through that infection, months of not being able to do anything, exercise, live my life. But there was a silver lining because the medical menopause kicked in and I actually felt like I was living for the first time. And I can't explain that feeling because I thought, yes, I have a life. I can do things. I can fly. I can, and that happened. That went on for a year and a half. And then bang, I was collapsed again, the worst collapse of my life. Ended up in A&E to be told that I didn't look bad enough to be in gynecology emergency. And at this point, I was done. It was like 15 years of this nonsense. So I went private and had an MRI. But unfortunately, I still didn't feel like I was being heard. And a friend referred me to Amer. And after that, like, I haven't ever looked back. So that was 2025 summer. By the end of 2025, I'd had a full hysterectomy, deep endometriosis excision, a bowel resection, and I had to have my belly button removed and reconstructed. And I'm now 5 months post-surgery.
That's right. Thank you, Sar. Thank you for sharing this long journey with us as well. Carrie, take us through what you have been through. You have always depicted your endometriosis and pain through your artwork as well. But tell us a little bit more about yourself. And
So I've always had bad periods from the age of 11, and I thought it was normal because my mum suffered with bad periods and so did my 2 elder sisters. But at the age of 19, I've noticed my periods became more painful. And before, I used to be a lifeguard, a swim teacher, and I used to play rugby. And one day on the way to work, I just collapsed. And I remember my friend was trying to feed me a banana, thinking, oh, it must be a sugars or something like that. And I was like, no, my stomach really hurts and I had uncontrollable bleeding. I went to the hospital and they said it's just a heavy period, sent me back. And then a couple of weeks later, my period hasn't stopped. I was going in and out of A&E. My boyfriend, who's now my husband at the time, bless him, since 2019, he's been holding my hand through it. I've had an operation in 2019 and I was told by a doctor that they found endometriosis, but they didn't write down that they saw the endometriosis in the document. So we're trying to get evidence of it. It was an ongoing situation. It's given me a lot of anxiety, like talking about it now. I have severe PTSD when it comes to talking about my experience with NHS. So but last,
Yeah.
yeah, you can see that I'm a bit nervous talking about it because it's
you're
so traumatic.
Yeah.
And I love my mother-in-law. She told me that, just tell your story, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But looking back at it, I didn't know how much pain I was in till now. When I came to Dr. Raza, I had a walking stick. I couldn't walk, I couldn't move, and I was in pain every day of my life, and it had affected me mentally and physically. And after my surgery in 2023, I can move, I can walk, I'm able to enjoy my life a little bit better. Now, don't get me wrong, I still have my flare-ups, I still have my moments, but I'm in a much better stage now. What was quite upsetting was the medical gaslighting. I was quite slim, I was quite fit, and my life was taken away from me because of my periods, and I was being told that it's all in my head. And what I didn't understand is how doctors can send you home with Oromorph and say there's nothing wrong with you, when clearly there's something is. But now I'm started to feel a lot better. I'm able to move. I'm on the Rosette and the Marina coil, and I do feel slightly better in myself now.
well done, Carrie. It needs a lot of
Thank
courage to
you.
come and talk about it so openly. And really it pains all of us, isn't it? Everybody listening as well on the chat as well right now. Lots of people are sharing their comments in their life. What a tragic thing it is that young girls suffer from right age of 12 and 13 all the way without any help, without even people understanding their problem, what to talk about solution, diagnosis and treatment, not even knowing. So it's a very sad story of our history. We all hope and will come to a solution in the end that something comes out. But thank you you very much for sharing this journey with us as well. Susan, you have a little bit different twist to your story. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. How you came across this whole situation.
Yeah, my story is pretty recent insofar as my diagnosis. So I was diagnosed just in November 2023 with, and I'm 45. So I was diagnosed age 43. And I have been before I'd been diagnosed, I have similar stories where I had symptoms throughout my life, but my symptoms weren't necessarily these heavy periods and bad period pain. My problems were bowel problems, and so I would have always from my 20s I would have always said, I think I have IBS. I mean, certainly something was definitely irritating my bowel, but it wasn't IBS. But but what I do, in order to kind of understand what has happened and to kind of reconcile it, you do have to kind of look back and look at moments. And what I would definitely say is that when I was 15, I would have had a very specific thigh pain around my period. So that was my symptom. So it wasn't that, and I would remember that there were girls in school and they would be utterly floored by their periods. And I wonder if I had this, what did they have? When I look back. But so my periods were heavy, but they were clockwork and they were like that all my life. But in my 20s, bowel symptoms became very prevalent, and so I would eat food and get bloated. I'm of a slim build, but I could definitely pass for a 6-month pregnancy, and so when I got married at 40. I had a lockdown engagement and got married within the space of a year. And, we were trying for a baby and nothing was happening. And I was very, very symptomatic. And I had started developing urinary type symptoms. And I ended up having 2 cycles of IVF at a private clinic. And I walked out of that experience, and we were unsuccessful with having having a child, but I walked away kind of understanding that it was just kind of my age and bad luck, and that was that. When the symptoms were just so prevalent, I ended up I heard something on the radio. I was in Ireland and I was cleaning my mother's house, and I was sitting at the kitchen table with marigolds on my hand, and I heard someone talking on the radio, and they were describing symptoms that were similar to mine around the bowel. And she said the word endometriosis. Now, I work in clinical operations in bio and pharma, and I come across various different diseases, and I kind of have a above layman's understanding of various diseases. Endometriosis, I did not know what it was. And I went to a consultant and I said, I think I have one of 2 things, and endometriosis was one. And we did an MRI, and my MRI lit up. So that was my moment at 43 years of age, having had all of those symptoms, bloating, the periods had become heavy and painful kind of late 30s, to be fair, but and then having had IVF, and you think you're at the end of the road when you kind of walk into let's say a fertility clinic, and they're going to tell me what's wrong, and I walked away none the wiser, but which was really unfortunate. But I got diagnosed quickly. I had my surgery. I had two surgeries. Actually 2 years ago, March 2 years ago, and November. And since I had a bowel resection, I've had both fallopian tubes removed. I had extensive complex surgeries, like many of you, and many of you may be listening also. Yeah. So where I am at now is that I have 1 symptom left to tackle. That's it, 1 symptom left. And other than that, once we do tackle this, because we will, I will be the best I've ever been in my life, because all of my other symptoms have gone. Now, they do require me to take measures, like it's certain things that I eat. I went gluten-free for me because it straight away changed everything. There's different things around like exercise and just managing that, but I certainly feel really, really good now, except for this 1 symptom, which we're working on.
That's fine. Thank you very much. Okay, listening of all of you now, I'm thinking about one thing. You have gone through a journey, diagnosis, and then treatment, and still going through challenges as well. Endometriosis doesn't go away. It doesn't disappear. It still stays there. If I take you back to your early years when you started to have this problem, what was that one thing you think, if I would have done that, maybe it would have changed the outcome? Maybe I would not have suffered that long. That one thing we want to give this thing to people who are listening to us, who are going through this journey themselves now, this challenge now. So they, maybe that's the thing. So I just, anything come to your mind, it doesn't have to be anything scientific. I'll go possibly with Kerry. Anything you look back in your journey, say, I wish I would have done that one quickly. Not to see Mr. Raza, that keep that out of the way. But what you could have done differently?
Well, I think keep pushing, because what happened to me, it got to a point where I just gave up and just thought, fine, it's obviously in my head, there's something wrong with me. The only bit of advice I could give is just keep pushing forward. Make sure you have enough documentations and just keep pushing. If that doctor doesn't work, go to another doctor. You don't have to go to private care to get the help that you needed. You just have to keep on pushing. And that's one thing that I would, if I could go back in time and change, is just keep going, keep pushing and not give up.
That's a very good point you're making, and I will just make one more point with it as well. Whenever you go see a consultant, it could be applied to any disease, but let's talk about endometriosis here. Have a small notebook with you, even in your phone as well. You can keep a diary. Number one of your symptom. Number two, all the consultation with your GPs and all the consultant, whatever they say, you record it. So when you sit to the next person who you have never seen before and just picking up your file and looking through your notes now, you have the better record of all the discussion to challenge them if they don't listen or something. So this is something, record keeping and keep pushing is a very good message. Not everyone is fortunate to come to private care. And that's the biggest challenge when you come across a big system which is not answering you. It becomes really a challenge who to turn to, who to speak to. Good advice, Carrie. Keep pushing. Susan, what will you say? I know your journey is different, but what would you say?
I would, so the theme is similar insofar as I think off the back of all of this, I think it's really important, to have agency over your health. And if you're on this call, then you're here because you have some understanding or you're learning about endometriosis and that pathway. So I think that's even the first step to having agency over your health. It's about taking control and the knowledge and learning about the disease, because what you actually end up finding is that, and with no disrespect to a GP level or, nurse practitioners at that level, they sit in this position where they have to triage. They have 5,000 patients. They've got 200 pieces of paper with reports coming through every day, and you have to be able to kind of advocate for yourself, as you said. One thing that I have, and I is that and it has worked for some friends of mine who are currently in the health system at the moment, is that when if they know that there's something wrong and they're asking for, let's say, an ultrasound scan, and their doctor is saying, we don't think you need the ultrasound scan, to ask them to document in the notes that you requested the ultrasound scan and the reason why it was declined. And as soon as you say something like that, you can be sure that they'll check again and say, okay, well, maybe we'll get you that ultrasound scan. So it's simply just asking. If they say no, ask for it to be documented that you asked and that you were refused and the reason why.
And that's incredibly powerful, Susan, to say that. Absolutely. This is a very good point, that if they refuse, let them write in the notes, why are they refusing and what have you asked? Because the day will come, you will return to that few lines which are written in your notes. Very good point. Matilda, I turn to you now. I know you've been to hospitals. You have got quite frustrated with the whole system the way it was. Tell us anything you would like to share with people should think if they look back.
I think just as both of the other ladies have said, just like advocating for yourself, making notes of the symptoms that you've had. I never related like my bowel symptoms. I think it was Kerry that said, and Susan, you're gaslighting them into them saying, oh, you've just got IBS or whatever. And I never put the two and two together until, because I always was under the impression that even when I had researched endometriosis, that it was just a gynecological thing and it didn't affect anywhere. It's been found on, is it every organ in the body? It's been found everywhere. So, you know, it was just more of a case of, as you said, you know, keeping note of all of your symptoms and everything and keeping track of it. And yeah, just pushing more and more for a diagnosis and advocating for yourself.
That's true. Many people will relate with that as well. And Sair, how you look at it if you look back now?
Well, I would definitely second everything the ladies have said. Advocate for yourself, take agency. You know, it's your life, your symptoms. But for me, it's a little bit, it's actually quite emotional because I ended up being so hard on myself because medical professionals, people around me, I was led to believe I was very weak. And it makes me very emotional to then realize one day I woke up through it all and I realized I wasn't weak. I was actually incredibly strong. But
Yeah.
I let all that happen because I thought I was weak and I couldn't cope with symptoms. I couldn't cope with migraines. I couldn't cope with pain. And I just needed to push through, you know, come on, toughen up, be harder. And so many years passed with me struggling. And I think it actually becomes a grief that you have to process then because you have to process all those years of feeling like that about yourself. So to the ladies listening is, you know, believe in yourself and your feelings and your symptoms, and you know, don't let anybody make you feel like it's not real and gaslight you into thinking that it's like your imagination or you just need to, you know, come on, pull your socks up and get on with it. It's not that.
That's true. That's very incredible. We have lots of questions and comments have come from lots of people who are online right now. I will go through some of them as well and share them with all of you, and maybe some few things you would like to comment back on them as well. But I will just go to one next question now. Um, uh, where are you now in your journey, and what message would you like to give to other women who may be going through the same experience? Just 2-3 lines only, if you give. I will start with Susan, and then Carrie, and then Saira, and then Matilda in the left. Yes, Susan.
Yeah, so where I am now is that, as I mentioned, I have one symptom left, and it's a bladder symptom, and we're dealing with it. I mean, I feel like it's about moving forward as well, and just not letting this become my identity. You know, I've had 2 years now. My poor old father, he can't even ask me about how I am. He says, "How's your body?" But so it's about kind of trying to also draw a line and recognize now that I'm on the other side of it and kind of to move forward. I mean, I don't know, I probably didn't say that. I mean, this disease has actually taken an awful lot from me insofar as it's compromised my fertility, and I was born to be a mum. I would have been great at it, and unfortunately I'm the best aunt, but you know, there's no babies for me, and like that was a real blow. But what I would just say is that I'm okay, and you know that, you know, there is life after. If you're for the people listening, if you're in a similar situation to myself where it's taken, you know, something really significant away from you, you know, I've channeled that into other things, and you know, it's given me choice over the future as well. And it's kind of, you know, because that decision is gone and that option is gone, it means, right, okay, what are all the things that I wanted to do? And so yeah, that's what I would just say about that.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Carrie.
Same as Susan. So sorry, that really caught me for a second.
Oh,
me too.
So for me now, I still have my flare-ups. However, that's not stopping me from who I am today. I'm still that energetic, bubbly person. I do have a few problems here and there, and one of it is definitely psychological. I do suffer with a lot of PTSD. Every time I walk past a certain hospital, I suffer with panic attacks, and it's been a very hard couple of years. However, I am stronger. I'm able to be an advocate. I'm able to be open and teach people and talk about how bad this disease is. And this disease is not me. You know, it hasn't taken any of my identity away. I'm still that strong, bubbly person I am today.
That's very powerful, Carrie. And I know personally myself that how you have been so brave to talk about it loudly and help others as well to learn from this. So thank you very much. Keep doing the great work. Matilda.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, I would say the same. You know, I still get flare-ups. I've had, I think, including non-endometrial surgeries just for cysts and stuff like that, I think I've had 13 excisions now in the past 11 years. But the surgery does help me, and I think, you know, I'm now on, you know, hormones that help me a bit better, and I'm in a place where, as they said, you know, I'm happy, and I always have been since I got my diagnosis, to share my kind of story. I share it on, you know, social media, and I constantly get people messaging me, asking me, you know, about their symptoms and who to speak to. And I was joking with Amer before we started that I've sent him probably more referrals than anyone has.
You should be taking commission.
I should. Next surgery's free, Amer.
She takes a commission by calling me all the time whenever she has a problem.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I'm glad. You know, obviously, I'm not glad that I have endo, but I'm glad that I'm in a position where I can give people advice on what's worked for me, and I can, you know, be there for people who are just getting their diagnosis and answer questions where, you know, they can't have their GP on the phone every 5 minutes asking them questions, and people who don't have access, you know, to private healthcare and don't have access to speaking to someone like Amer, and that I can, you know, give them my honest opinion and my honest advice, because I have been through it for the past 11 years. So I think, yeah, I get my flare-ups, and I've got every single painkiller imaginable at home, but I manage it, and, you know, and I'm at a point where I've accepted it, and I don't see a point where I'm never going to have pain again, but I know how to manage it, and, you know, I'm comfortable with that now. I'm at a point where I'm used to that now.
That's the thing, that how to accept it and move on with it as well. Taking it in your stride and just moving on.
Mentally as well, not just physically.
That's right. It's not about physical, it's mental. Sahir, tell us about what would you like to share with others?
Yes, so I've used this experience, my journey, my story, to turn my pain to purpose, is what I've been doing for the last 10, 15 years. And as my story continues and my own health journey evolves, I find it very cathartic to share, to help, to inspire. And, you know, Amer knows I'm on social media, and it's women benefit from it and I benefit from it, and I'm trying to just take the positives. I'm a very positive person, so it's not going to destroy me, it's not going to like put me down. I have to use it for the better, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm 5 months in recovery, and I'm just sharing that journey, really. So if it helps one woman, that for me, that's enough.
That's very strong. If I reflect myself as well, I was operating today. We had 2 cases today to operate, very young girls, both 26 years, severe disease, bowel involvement, and we have done bowel disc excision in both of those cases. And Professor Sufyan came from Paris to join me today in theater to see what I was doing. And he was telling me he's the person behind the new genetic test for DNA. It's a DNA Zwick test, the saliva test by which we can, saliva test by which we can say if you have endometrial or not. Obviously, it's not 100% sensitive, but it is 95%, which is a huge number. So I was talking to him, what will be the dream of endometriosis? The dream will be, and he's at the cutting edge of the science now in terms of diagnosis of endometriosis, that we do this test, this endometriosis genetic test, at the age of 12, 13, when they are very young, maybe 15. And we diagnose them with endometriosis when it's only a tiny, small, superficial spot, not grown inside the uterus, in the ovaries, pelvic side wall, bowel, and everywhere. No, it is just simply a tiny spot. We diagnose this person on a tiny spot on very early age when she started to have her periods. And when we have a medicine, like a vaccine, like we get HPV vaccine, like we have a antidote to it, like we have, which we say, take this treatment, take this course, and that's it. This small superficial deposit will never grow from this superficial deposit to something else. That will be the dream. Because when I am treating and we are treating as surgeons, it's too late. It's already gone everywhere. Now we are just simply trying to cut away, shave away the disease what has grown, but it's not a cure. It's not a solution. It is just trying to put something back together now, which is just broken for many, many years, actually. So this is, if you ask any doctor, what will be the dream? This is the dream, that we have a disease diagnosed from a very simple blood test, saliva test at a very young age. And once we diagnose, we treat it. If you ask me, can you give an example of something? Absolutely, there are many examples. I'll give you a simple example. Cervical cancer, big problem. Or abnormal smears. We end up with colposcopies, going to doctors again and again. With a lot of research, we knew that this cervical cancer is actually coming from infection, human papilloma virus. And once we knew it's the virus causing infection in 99.99%, we said, oh, can we make a vaccine? Yes, we can make vaccine. Technology allows us now. And now we have a vaccine, and all the young girls are getting vaccine at the age of 11, so they never develop cervical cancer again ever in their life. So once we know the problem, then we can find solution. And I think we're coming close to it. A lot of research groups are working all over the world, in Edinburgh, in Cambridge, and Professor who was with me today as well from Paris, France now. That work is happening now. So there is a hope. It will be late for many, many people who already have a disease, and maybe a few more years to go before we have a simple, cheap test available in the NHS, free to everyone. Now this test I'm talking about is very costly. It costs about £1,000. It's a very expensive test to do. Even still is worth doing it, but still is very expensive test, and only available in the private sector. But that will be the exact dream one day. So on that note, let's go to some of the comments which people are talking to us. Hattie can come in at this stage now. Hattie, you have any questions? I can see lots of chat groups as well.
Yes, lots of questions.
Okay.
What do you think is the biggest barrier to progress right now? Is it funding, scientific complexity, or something else?
Funding is the mother of all the issues. That we have to accept the fact. There's a misogynistic attitude when it comes to endometriosis. This endometriosis is a female disease. Sadly, it has been neglected. The 0.01%, maybe it's less than that, research which goes into women's health. If we take the breast cancer, the big one, out of ovarian cancer out of the equation now, there's no money spent on any female disease. Endometriosis has been completely neglected area. It is literally last 2 or 3 years, because of women like yourself who are joining this group now, that government is listening and some money is flowing into the research of endometriosis. But that has been a big problem. But challenge is diagnosis and treatment. And I briefly said in the last talk that if we have this test done, then that will sort out our problem. That's a challenge. So science is the next thing. Funding comes, science will move forward, I'm sure. Anyone else want to answer? Anyone of you, please feel free to comment as well.
What I would quite like to just add, last week I was asked to go on the BBC on the radio to speak about, there's a current testing going on at the moment at, I think it was at Cambridge University, in order to do, instead of doing smears, which are obviously really uncomfortable for people with endometriosis and adenomyosis, they are currently looking into another option, which is just a simple blood test instead of a, physical smear. And I found that really interesting. And they were obviously asking me, as someone who's like an endo advocate, as to what that would mean for someone. And I think a lot of people, put that off. And I just found that really interesting, that, and actually quite exciting, that we don't have to go through pain for a simple smear test, and there's a possibility of that coming out in the next couple of years.
Good. Thanks. Hattie?
How are you managing today, despite many months/years going by? Do you see an improvement to your endometriosis thanks to the treatment you received?
That question to Susan?
Oh, yeah, sure. So do I see an improvement based on the treatment I've received, is it?
It's a two-parter. How are you managing despite the long journey? And then how are you seeing an improvement now?
Yeah, so I mean, surgery for me was so significant because it really did improve a lot of my symptoms. I've had a bowel resection, so if anyone on the call is facing a potential bowel resection, the reality of a bowel resection is it really takes about 2 years for your bowel to kind of find its new normal. Well, it did for me anyway. You have a new anatomy, and so it takes a little bit of time to just start functioning properly again. with the but I am 2 years in, so I would say that I have reached a kind of a normal for me. And the normal for me now is a hell of a lot better than the normal for me before, because the normal for me before is I may not have gone to the toilet for about 10 days. And then I had, if you ever, any of you used to watch Sex and the City, they used to talk about secret single behavior. And my secret single behavior was I would take laxatives on certain days of the week. So because I mightn't have gone for 10 days and I knew I had a date on Friday night. So how am I going to have a flat tummy? And, you know, this cycle of doing these things and intermittent fasting and all this. So that was the past. Now, post-surgery, that's really good. And I personally have had a really good response to the Marina coil. So that's the treatment I have for the endometriosis. So that's really been effective for me, and I feel quite lucky for that. And the things that I have done in my life to, you know, while we all have endometriosis, I've kind of actively taken on having controliosis, which is to kind of really modify, you know, things that I'm eating. So, you know, people talk about having, you know, like, oh, I just want to have a treat and, you know, and just have this or that. But that this or that is their foods or drinks that are actually hurting your body. So they're really not treats if they're hurting you, you know. So it's actually kind of understanding that while so much is out of your control, that actually there are things that you can kind of do in your own life. And, you know, you've already gone through endometriosis, so you can give up this particular thing if it means that you won't have further inflammation, you know. So that's just what I would say. And exercise as well, whether you love it or hate it, putting some structure in your week for you. It's actually not just to, you know, for it to be physically fit or aesthetics or whatever. It's actually just to give, like, this is your home. Your body is your home, and you've got to look after her. So it's just, and it's your old lady body as well that you have to look after too. So future-proofing her and, you know, putting that time aside in the week to actually do something that's good for her, the way you would take a medicine.
That's true. Thank you. Yes, Hattie.
If symptoms are being managed reasonably well with lifestyle management, is it still worth getting surgery to slow potential progression of endometriosis?
Now, I'll give the medical answer, but I'll come to Sahir now, because Sahir is physically very active. She's always in the gym or some kind of strong machines. Sahir, tell us about how you connect the exercise and physical activity with your endometriosis and generally physical ailment.
I really think I managed all those years with such a severe condition, you know, severe adenomyosis, deep infiltrating endometriosis on the bowel, in my belly button. I really think it was the exercise and the lifestyle, investing into myself, that helped me manage for so long. Obviously, then it got to a point, because I was in perimenopause, and that drastic fluctuate in estrogen was just, it was so toxic. I think, like Susan was saying, the lifestyle and exercise is so underestimated. It's literally like a medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is really, really important. And then obviously, if you are suffering, you know, you need to look at medical intervention if you are suffering.
Yeah, that's right. So
may I just add there? Yeah, just with the nutrition. I mean, I actually don't think you like. I'm not trying to put nutritionists or dietitians out of business, but you know your own body, so you know yourself. If you eat something and if it doesn't agree with you, or if it causes pain, or if it causes bloating, or whatever it does, you know yourself, and you actually don't need, you know, an expert to tell you what foods you're allergic to or you're intolerant to, or that they affect you. You know your own self. So actually, you know, we kind of talk about the fact that in all of our journeys, we all haven't been listened to throughout our journey, and yet we also should listen to ourselves and our bodies when it's saying, don't eat this, it's causing you pain. So
yeah, there's a
Yeah, I agree
very
with
good
that.
book. There's a very good book. I got mine on Amazon, and it's a cookbook for endometriosis, and it's called Eating for Endo Does Not Have to Suck, and it's really, really, really good. So anyone looking for any endo cookbooks, look at that, and it basically reads you through like what you should test on yourself, and then if it doesn't work, then try this. But it gives you like nice things, so you're not cutting all of like the fun stuff out of your diet.
Yeah, there can be joy.
Yeah.
I think the medical answer of that question will be that I don't know what do you mean by endometriosis, how bad it is, what's it involving. So it's very difficult to give one-liner a response to you. So I think if you have endometriosis, you should with your doctor discuss what exactly the risk could be. Fertility is one of the very important things neglected for years now. And when I was saying if somebody 15-year-old and then this gene is positive and then we try to give some medicine, the others offshoot will be, should we just freeze their eggs as well when they're 2021, so they don't have to worry about getting married early, relationship early, children early. They have secured their future if that's what they need. That's what the future will look like. So no, speak to your doctors. They will understand your degree of endometriosis involvement precisely, and they can advise you that conservative, medical, surgical option, which one is better for you. Hattie, as Professor Jaffer has also joined us as well. I think he's joined us. I don't know which link he's using now.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here. That's fine. Stay back. We'll coming back to you in a second now. One more question, please. Then I will introduce Professor Jaffer as well.
Of course. So there was a question about how can a partner support their wife who's been diagnosed with endometriosis?
Wow, that's a great question. I think if you guys help me, I'm going to have one webinar in a month or 2 months time only with partners. That's it. They have their own journeys actually in a very strange way, and I don't know how they cope with it, because I've seen some crying in their lonely time because it is so hard for them. They want to support, but they don't know what to do. And again, I would say people in NHS sometimes are not very fortunate to have access, and they really do not know what to go and where the help is. Great question, actually. Sahir, I will start with you. Please tell us.
Well, I wish my husband was here to listen to this actually, but like you said, it's very difficult for them to understand, because the education around endometriosis, women's health issues, menopause, hormones, it's not there for us women. So for the men and for the boys, it's just how do they know and how do they help? But I think if you know, when you're with for the partners, so let's just say after my surgery, like my husband's had to look after me so well and almost do everything for me, and to be able to give that to your partner, to be able to hold them up like that, it is a special gift, to be honest. I don't think everybody has it and every man has it, but to realize that the patient is at their lowest. They don't want to have to rely on another human being for basic functions when you're in a flare, or when you're on the floor in pain, in the bathroom, not being able to look after and do the most basic things. It's really hard to rely on another human being, to rely on a male, say, to help you. But you have to find that connection within yourselves to let that person in, and then for that partner to understand that I have to help you. I have to be the support, because this woman is suffering to the point she can't do her basic functions. She's in agonizing pain. She might need help needing a shower. And you have to kind of break all the barriers down and be there for each other. And then the partner themselves has to have support from somewhere. So they have to have support from their family members or their friends, because anybody who is suffering with endo in their lives, whether you're the woman, whether you're the spouse, whether you're the children, whether you're a parent of a young lady going through it, it's really agonizing to have a disease, a condition control you in that way.
That's true.
Can I add one more
yeah,
thing?
Kerry,
as
please.
well?
Yeah.
I'm so lucky to have my husband. He's been through the ups and downs, and honestly, if he wasn't working, I wish he could stand in and talk to you guys about it now. You need to make sure as well that you both communicate. So my husband knows there'll be 2 times a week in a month that I'm going to be at my lowest and my weakest. So he'll be the one doing the cooking and the cleaning, and I'll be the one in the following week. So we have to kind of compromise our jobs around the house and doing stuff outside. So that's how we kind of work. We're a team at the end of the day. If he falls down and he's not well, I will pick up and look after him, and it's vice versa.
That's true. Matilda, you want to say something?
I'm the most single person in the world, so I don't have
I
anything.
know that. That's right.
But I think, as the lady said, if I did, it would be, you know, my example for that would be my mum or my friends. You know, my friends are very, you know, it's being understanding when you need to cancel plans last minute instead of just saying, oh, she's ill again, or, you know, whatever. And just as you guys said, even is, as Sahir said, you know, even a simple task as having a shower. You know, I will sometimes, you know, when I'm in a flare, I'll have to call my mum and say, you need to come and help me and come and do this, because you physically can't do those tasks. But just being understanding, you know, you don't have to go through it yourself in order to try and be understanding as to what someone else is going through. So I think that would be my point.
That's true. So do you want to add something?
Oh, well, I mean, before endometriosis, I mean, I remember the day before I was coming in for my surgery and I had to do a bowel prep. And I kicked my husband out of the house and I said, you're not allowed to come back until 5 o'clock. And then all of a sudden I had the surgery and I was incapacitated for a week. So, you know, I had to leave my dignity at the front door. So yeah, no, I'm fortunate to have somebody. And I'm glad I'm glad I nabbed him in lockdown. Is all I'll say. And and he's been amazing. But also, Mr. Raza, Amer, thank you for everything that you have done. Also, because you know you've just been incredible. So there's so many of us that you've helped and supported, and you know we're all big fans, and you are really a leading light. So thank you so much.
No, welcome. And on the husband thing, I will tell you that it's a very sad time as well. I have patients who come to me for surgery, and after surgery, they tell me their partners have left them because they couldn't cope with the whole stress. And there are a lot of sad.
That's probably why I'm single.
I'm sorry.
So it's a very difficult journey sometimes. Really sorry. Okay, now let's finish on very positive note. Now, we are joined now by Professor Usman Jaffer, who is a vascular surgeon, very well-renowned surgeon in UK and doing huge amount of research work in public health as well. He is creating a very big platform. We have few minutes now, Usman, for you to tell us. We want to create an endometriosis society nationally. With just not people telling us about their problem, but then moving toward the solution with technology and with the new world we're living in now. Usman, we have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name's Usman. As Amer said, I'm a vascular surgeon at Imperial, and Amer and I know each other from our work at the Cromwell Hospital for a number of years now. Been supporting each other. And he very kindly invited me to join you ladies. I've been listening to everybody talk for the last sort of 10 minutes. And I'm sort of, you know, deeply touched and honored, and as I always am when I come to these sort of fora and listen to people, what you've created here amongst yourselves, and some of you may be familiar with this terminology, is a community of practice. It's an educationalist term. I have an educationalist background as well as research and innovation and whatnot. So in terms of communities of practice, it's a term that came out of Europe about 20 years ago. And what you've done is you've brought together people from different disciplines. You've got the medical side here. You've got and you've got everyday people's lived experiences, and you've brought it all together into this wonderful platform where you share. And you share two types of things. One is, in the parlance, what we call tacit knowledge, which is all your experiences, your lived experiences, your hopes, your fears, your solutions, your strategies, your successes, your failures. I've heard all, just in the last 10 minutes, you've given me the whole spectrum there. And that's the tacit knowledge stuff, which is missing from many, many people's lives, because we're all fragmented, living our own isolated, sort of siloed lives to lesser or more degree. And then you've brought together the medical expertise, what we call the explicit knowledge content, with Mr. Raza here. You've brought that together into this live event. What we've created and what we'd like to set up for you guys as an endometriosis sort of collective is some technology where we can bottle this lightning, so to speak, and scale it up for thousands and thousands of ladies and partners, who are going through exactly what you're going through. In order to set this up, what we need is a core community that's willing to share. And I see the core community in front of me right here because you guys have been sharing. It's amazing. You are the, you know, I don't know if anyone likes the old film Top Gun. You are the best of the best. You are the elite. You know, you are, yeah, that's sort of cliched quote out of Top Gun. But literally 1 to 4% of people share experiences from the literature, from the scientific literature. Up to sort of, I think 7% is the largest sort of number quoted in some UK medical literature. The rest of the people want to learn from you, but don't necessarily want to put themselves forward and share. So I think we have a massive opportunity here to bottle this lightning and create an endometriosis community of practice and share what you've got already going on and scale it up. The intention for this project was to positively affect the lives of millions and millions of people around the world with communities of practice from for different conditions, for no condition, for general wellness, for in different locations around the world. So we have projects in the US, UK, Africa, low middle income countries, and Amer and I were talking about this, I think just yesterday in theatres, and here we are today, potentially, launching it. So the next step would be, I think, Amer, you're sharing one of our sort of explainer videos in sort of the closed WhatsApp group you've got. And if people want to step forward and be part of the core community, it involves about 45 minutes of sharing in a semi-structured interview format, technical educationalist term. You can either run through it online on your own, or we can set up a Zoom call where someone can talk you through the questions. There's no right answer, it's just sharing your experiences. That all goes into an AI engine which analyzes it, extracts themes, and cuts the interviews into small bite-sized nuggets, what I've been hearing from you guys today. And then there's a bit more, involved stuff in terms of AI scheduling and understanding the changing needs of your community with analytics. And the end result of all this is continuous, iterative content co-creation. That's a very sort of geeky way of saying it, but it means that the community is always course correcting itself to align with what the community members, you guys, need and want. So yeah, that's enough of a pitch for me. I feel I'm doing something bad here. I'm selling you something, but yeah, if people would like to contribute, it'd be amazing.
No, thank you very much, Man. I think that's a very powerful idea. There's a lot of charities doing lots of work in their own way, but this is not charity work. It is just bringing all the information to the community. So we'll work on it. I will possibly share that link with lots of people, and then we'll start building up the community on the shared health platform as well. Thank you very much for coming as well. And I think that there are a lot of questions, but all the questions, I can see the questions are building up every single minute actually now. They are massive. So these questions, Hattie will send an email to us, and then my specialist nurse, myself, will go through the clinical questions and be more than happy to come to you and answer the questions as well. Secondly, I've just started doing 1 hour free sessions as well for question and answer every month. So you'll get the information as well. Any question you have about any clinical problem, just come up with that chat group and I will answer all the questions as well to help you with that as well. And with that, is there anything else any of the members want to say before I give my finishing comments? We're almost over at time now.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for all of you who have joined us again in the group and here as well. Listening to these stories reminds us that endometriosis is just not a condition, it's a journey. It touches every part of our life. So I will say thank you very much for everyone. Let's continue with that journey, and very grateful to all of you and all of you who have been listening at home as well. Please spread the message. More we talk about it, more we talk loudly, it makes a change. I've seen as a clinician myself, you are the people who are changing us to change our behavior when you come and tell us your problem. I've never seen as many referrals from GPs as I've seen in the last 12 months. People are telling their problem, GP says, it could be endometriosis. They're going to gastrointestinal doctor. They say, I've done my colonoscopy, everything normal. You may have endometriosis. People are going to urologist with a chronic UTI and saying, I've done cystoscopy, that's normal. I think you may have endometriosis. It never happened before. Your loud voices are changing the attitude of scientific community, of doctors, clinicians, radiographers, everyone. So let's keep doing every one of us our small bit, and I'm sure it will make a big change one day. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for Cromwell Hospital as well. Hattie, thank you to you. You put a lot of effort to do this thing. So very grateful to everyone who joined us and today here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
See you later.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Susan, Sire,
Bye-bye.
Kerry, everyone. Very grateful, Matilda. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Hattie.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Send the questions to us and we'll answer all the questions as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Sir. Walaikum Assalam. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.